Welcome to the Freak Show, fellow freaks.
I'm Matthew Brockmeyer.
And I'm Christa Carmen.
And this is...
Murder Coaster.
Internet bullying gone too far. Catfishing. Cyber sex. MySpace. Facebook. CIA assassins. And cold-blooded murder. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we have it all with one of the strangest and most unbelievable cases you probably never heard of. The story of Jenelle Potter and the Facebook murders. A tale of loneliness and group psychosis taken to extraordinary levels of madness. Step right up, and hear all about it.
Let's begin. Prologue. Murder most foul. On January 31st, 2012, in the rural community of Mountain City, Tennessee, a fellow named Roy Stevens and his wife, Linda, were driving their pickup truck through the mist-covered Appalachian hills to a friend's house to pick up some mail they'd had delivered there.
The friend's name was Paul Billy, and he lived with his son, Billy Ray Payne, Billy's girlfriend, Billie Jean Hawthorne, and their infant son, Tyler. Yes, that's 3 generations and 3 Billies, all under one roof. But they were a happy and close-knit clan, very loving, and Billy Ray and his girlfriend, Billie Jean, were ecstatic about the recent birth of their baby boy.
As Roy pulled up to the house, the first thing that seemed odd was that Billy Ray's pickup was in the driveway. He should be at work at the thread factory.
Roy entered, calling out, "Billy Ray! Billie Jean!" as he says, not wanting to surprise them in case they were in the middle of an intimate act. But there was no answer. The house was quiet. Too quiet.
Glancing into the bedroom on his left, Roy saw Billy Ray laying in his bed, bare-chested and clad only in boxers, his neck and chest covered in blood.
Instinctively, he ran to him, reaching out to touch him, to try to wake him, stir him, see if he was all right. But he didn't stir. He was pale and lifeless, and to his horror, Roy saw his throat was cut, ear to ear, and there was a bullet hole below his left eye.
Roy bolted to the door, screaming for Linda, telling her Billy Ray had been shot and to call 911. Linda ran in and used the house's landline to call as Roy investigated further into the quiet, foreboding home, searching for Billie Jean and baby Tyler, hoping and praying they'd escaped whatever horrible fate had found Billy Ray. Sadly, his prayers would go unanswered.
In the other room, he found Billie Jean, lying lifeless on her left side in a puddle of blood, wearing cartoon Grinch that stole Christmas pajamas, her 7-month-old infant cradled in her arms, splashed with blood.
As Roy would later say,
"I really didn't step into the room till I seen the baby breathe, and I pulled it out of her arms. It was just laying kind of on its face in her arms, just, I didn't know. And I seen it breathe, and I said, no, and I pulled it out of her arms because I saw the back of her head blowed out. I mean, you couldn't help but to grab the baby."
Billie Jean had been shot in the right temple, and the bullet had gone through her head and out the left side. Miraculously, her baby was completely fine, simply lying there quietly in its dead mother's arms.
Investigators were horrified. Mountain City, Tennessee was a quiet backwater hamlet where everyone knew each other. There was little crime. The few murders that did occur were usually the result of drunken barroom brawls gone too far or jealous lovers. Nothing like this. This appeared cold-blooded and extremely well-calculated. On a normal day, Paul Bill left for work at 5:30 in the morning, and Billy Ray left at 6:30, meaning there was only a window of an hour when Billy Ray and Billie Jean would be alone in the house together. Investigators found a very small amount of methamphetamine in a cut straw used to snort it. So at first they assumed it must be a drug hit. But digging into Billy Ray and Billie Jean, they quickly realized the two weren't involved in the drug trade. The town was so small, they'd have known about it. Everybody was up in everybody else's business.
Billy Ray had been known as a playboy of sorts, and he partied recreationally, was even known to sell a few of the pain pills he was prescribed, but he was far from a drug dealer. He had a long-term, steady job at the local thread factory, where Billie Jean also worked. And everyone who knew Billie Jean said she was a good girl, very excited to be a mother, and that Billy Ray had devoted himself to being a father.
Two had lots of friends, but didn't seem to have any enemies at all, beside a strange family that had recently moved to town named the Potters, whom they'd become involved in a Facebook feud with. In particular, the daughter, Jenelle Potter.
Soon rumors were swirling that Billy Ray and Billie Jean had been murdered because they'd unfriended Jenelle Potter on Facebook.
It sounded crazy and ridiculous. Facebook murder. But this being their only lead, Johnson County Sheriff's detectives went to go visit this family. They were a strange bunch.
The father, real name Marvin, but who goes by Buddy, said,
"I'm sorry that those people died. I don't wish that on nobody. When we saw that yesterday afternoon on TV, that was a shock to see that."
But immediately, the daughter, Jenelle, who was 33 years old and 6 feet tall, begins to talk in a high-pitched voice, a childlike voice that didn't fit with her large stature and age. "They weren't too happy with me. I'm sorry it happened, but they have been harassing the living crap out of me. They even threatened to kill me and rape me."
Now the mother, Barbara, who goes by Barbie, piped up, cutting her daughter off. "But we thought that was all over with."
Detectives asked Jenelle, "Have you ever posted anything negative on the internet about them?" Well, the only thing I ever posted was, 'Please leave me alone.' But they were on my account. They hacked in."
You never put on the internet that you wished that they were dead?
"Oh, I'm not that mean. I just tell people to leave me alone. That's as mean as I can get."
So if we had stuff we pulled off the internet from you, saying that it wouldn't be correct, how would that have gotten there?
It wasn't me. They actually made up 3 Facebooks of me using my pictures. They hacked into mine and saw everything. It's just not fair. If you see my Facebook, it's songs and pictures of dogs, bulldogs. I have a fascination with them.
Why would they be harassing you?
It came to be a jealousy thing. They said I was too pretty.
The detective stared at Jenelle. She wasn't unattractive, and she did have a pretty face, but she was 6 foot tall, developmentally challenged, a bit on the heavy side, with crazy eyes that kind of looked off into 2 directions at once, and large, ominous teeth that she displayed in a garish grin. It seemed strange that she'd be harassed for being too pretty, especially as Billie Jean was said by all to be drop-dead gorgeous.
Investigators asked her,
"How did you get to know these people?"
I met Bill's sister, Tacy Greenwell, and went to a hiking party. Then they took me to Bill's house for a party. There were drugs and alcohol, guns, and a lot of girls were raped there. They were a gang. Bill said they were bigger than MS-13. I wasn't going to let them get me.
Investigators had been told that Jenelle had a boyfriend, 38-year-old Jamie Curd. But when they asked her about him, she denied that he was her boyfriend, and both her parents then quickly insisted he was just a family friend. This too seemed odd to investigators. Everything about this family seemed odd. So they tracked down Jamie Curd and began to interview him.
Jamie wore thick, dark glasses to shelter his sensitive and misaligned eyes. He was nervous, fidgety, and deadly quiet, and investigators immediately thought he was hiding something.
They asked him to submit to a polygraph test, which he did and promptly failed. They then interviewed him again, informing him that he'd failed the lie detector test.
This interview was taped, and you can find it online. It's like sharks smelling blood. They put him in a room on a chair with his back against the wall, and they closed right in on him, pulling their chairs right up to him, leaning forward so that they're inches from his face. Then they start in on him. Are you the kind of man that could shoot a woman with a baby in her arms?
No, I'm not.
No, you're not. I believe you. But you know who could? Come on, your eyes are a window to your soul. I can see your soul, and I've been looking right into your soul.
The eyes are a window to the soul? You have to love it when the cops start breaking into Shakespeare. But the weirdest part of the cops saying that is that his eyes are all wacky and hidden behind dark shades. But the investigators are relentless, hammering in on him.
Who shot them? Tell us, who shot them, Jamie?
I heard,
Who had the gun?
He did.
He who? Buddy?
Yeah.
Bam. There it was. That easy. Jamie tells them that he and Buddy had gone to the house together, and Buddy had killed them while he stood guard at the door. But then Jamie says something completely bizarre to the detectives.
Oh, there's one question that you didn't answer me that's been blowing around in the wind. Is the CIA here?
The CIA? What are you talking about, the CIA?
Jamie then tells them that Jenelle had a friend named Chris that was in the CIA, and he was upset about things that had been happening.
The detectives tell Jamie they don't know anything about any CIA agent named Chris, and then move on and convince him to call Buddy on a recorded line and asked him if he had gotten rid of the gun and knife used in the murders.
So, Jamie calls the Potter home and Barbie answers. She too begins talking about this mysterious Chris in the CIA and how he'd been keeping her abreast of the situation. She then asks Jamie, "Did you pass your lie detector test, hon?"
Jamie lies to her and tells her he had in fact passed the lie detector test, and she says,
"Well, that's wonderful. We've been praying our hearts out. Jenelle even saw an angel today. Come in the computer room."
Eventually, Buddy got on the phone, and when Jamie asked him if he'd gotten rid of the knife and guns, Buddy grunted in the affirmative. Cold busted.
Buddy is then arrested, and soon the press dubbed this the Facebook murders, believing an overprotective father who forbid his daughter to date or even talk on the phone had exacted revenge on those harassing and bullying his precious daughter on Facebook.
But as detectives dig deeper, the case just becomes weirder and weirder and weirder.
While Jenelle is supposed to be a wholesome and sheltered, innocent and chaste woman, in her own words, a, quote, good Christian girl, end quote. Investigators find a multitude of pornographic images of her on Jamie's phone, saying all kinds of bizarre things, many involving this mysterious CIA assassin, Chris.
It seemed like the whole family was involved with this thing. And who was this CIA agent Chris everyone was talking about? Just what the hell was going on?
Chapter 1. The Potters. The patriarch of the Potter family, Marvin, who everyone called Buddy, was born in Pennsylvania in 1951, and in a bold move that shocked his parents, he joined the military and became a Marine in 1969 at the height of the Vietnam War.
During the war, Buddy served on a naval ship, and he would stay in the military until 1975, when he'd return to civilian life, moving back to Pennsylvania.
Back in his home state of PA, he meets Barbara, who goes by Barbie, a wholesome and robust, pretty Pennsylvania blonde woman, the two marrying and settling down together in Kennett Square, about 40 miles outside of Philadelphia, and quickly have a daughter named Christy.
Buddy found work as a pipe welder, but then fell from a scaffolding, tumbling 75 feet, causing a horrible back injury and chronic pain. Saying he was unable to work because of the injury, he lived off of disability and would never hold a job again.
Old Buddy was one of those former Marines who wants the world to know that he'd served his country. He had a Marine Corps hat he wore everywhere, Marine Corps t-shirts, Semper Fi stickers plastered on his pickup truck. An entire wall of his house was filled with military pictures and medals and decorations, some of which apparently got him into trouble. For at one point, he was taken to federal court and prosecuted for claiming military honors that he did not possess.
Buddy was constantly claiming he'd worked for the CIA in Vietnam, and that the CIA would still occasionally hire him as an independent contractor to perform covert missions. Though when investigators contacted the CIA about these claims, the CIA denied a Marvin Potter had ever been affiliated with them.
Buddy wore a pistol in a holster on his hip everywhere he went, as well as a large combat knife and survival axe. The leather belt that held them all lined with bullets and little leather loops. Neighbors say they'd see him on the front lawn cutting the grass, his pistol, knife, and axe hanging from his belt. And there's even a photograph you can find online of him gardening with Barbie. And sure as shit, he's got his gun and his knife and his axe on his belt while he's gardening. I guess if you see a groundhog or a mole, you can just be like, ow.
And then on May of 1982, Barbie gave birth to her second child, a daughter they named Jenelle, a uniquely American name first used in 1917, and that gained a lot of popularity in the 80s, derived from the name Jane, which means God is gracious. An American name for an American girl.
Chapter 2. Sweet Baby Jenelle.
Silk lining, delicate paper, tangerine rind. Tulip petals on the dresser all come to mind. Soft blonde pink breasts and shoulders, page 55.
Jenelle Lee Potter was born on May 23rd, 1982, 6 years younger than her older sister, Christy.
Jenelle was born with several issues. She had diabetic ketoacidosis, a very serious complication of diabetes. And as she grew older, they'd also realized she had an auditory processing disorder, a neurological condition where the mind can't process sounds despite normal hearing ability. Oftentimes, an auditory processing disorder is associated with other conditions, such as autism and ADHD.
As a child, she had trouble understanding jokes and sarcasm, the auditory processing disorder making it impossible to hear tone and inflection. So she took everything she heard completely, literally. When she began elementary school, she was put in special education classes and would remain in them throughout high school until her graduation.
But her sister Christy says she wasn't as challenged as she let on, that she was actually quite cunning and smart, saying she'd play dumb to get attention and make her life easier.
Christy says Jenelle would pretend to not be able to do something just to get attention, and that when no one else was around, Jenelle would do all kinds of things that people thought she wasn't capable of and would laugh about it.
Christy says Jenelle was a compulsive liar and would tell lies about her to gain sympathy, and that her parents always took Jenelle's side, that they babied her and coddled her and thought she was an innocent angel because of her condition, and Christy became the black sheep of the family. She says that whenever Jenelle would get caught in a lie, which happened quite often, she'd just throw a temper tantrum, even when she was older. Because of her diabetic ketoacidosis, Jenelle would often have to be hospitalized. But according to Christy, she liked all the attention, and Jenelle would purposely eat forbidden foods that were high in fat and sugars.
Jenelle was gangly, awkward child, very tall, with a hunched way of walking and a strange, incredibly squeaky voice, like a cartoon mouse. But as she grew older, like the ugly duckling, she started to bloom. She began to hold her head up higher, to walk straight, and as she matured, her face took a decidedly pretty turn. She had beautifully sculpted cheekbones that always had a rosy glow to them, a charming smile and beaming eyes, even if they were a little intense and crazy.
Barbie had a good job at Hewlett-Packard Computers and was the breadwinner of the family. Buddy collecting disability and staying home to take care of Jenelle, making sure she got her insulin shots and that no boys came creeping around.
Jenelle was a daddy's girl and wanted to become a Marine just like him. And that's how she became so infatuated with bulldogs, which are a symbol of the Marines. But how she thought she was going to become part of one of the most elite combat forces on the planet with the neurological audio processing issues and severe diabetes? I don't know, it's beyond me.
The little family had a lot of weird drama going on. After Barbie married Buddy, Barbie's brother married Buddy's sister. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Barbie's brother marrying Buddy's sister apparently pissed Barbie off. And she would talk constant shit about the rest of the family. And supposedly none of the other families liked Barbie, including her own mother. Meanwhile, Buddy is carrying a pistol and survival axe around everywhere and telling everyone he meets that he worked for the CIA, making everyone think he was crazy as a loon. And during it all, Barbie and Jenelle became a weird unit, feeding off each other and increasingly becoming more antagonistic and cruel to Christy, who'd now graduated from high school and was working on her associate's degree at the local community college.
After Christy graduated from community college, she found a job as a graphic designer and moved out of the strange house, never looking back.
After graduating high school, Jenelle went onto disability, just like her father, and became more introverted. Her parents refusing to let her have a car or go out alone, to even talk on the phone. Her best friends were her stuffed animals, whom she would name and have long talks with.
But then she found the internet.
It started just looking at puppies. She loved puppies. And honestly, puppies are a cool part of the internet. Puppies, cats, and panda bears.
Hilarious, sorry. She was going into chat rooms about puppies. She got a MySpace page where she posted pictures of herself with her stuffed animals, all huge smiles and crazy, crazy eyes.
And when Facebook came around, she was all over it right away. She had bizarre social tendencies. She'd walk up to strangers and act like she knew them, hug them, and ask them to be friends on Facebook. More reason for Papa Buddy to keep his eye on her and not let her go out alone.
Buddy didn't understand this whole computer World Wide Web thing either. He never even looked at a computer, couldn't turn one on, didn't know an email from a Western Union.
He was a man. He played with guns, not computers.
And then in 2004, it appears that Barbie somehow lost her job with Hewlett-Packard, and the family suddenly decided to up and move to Mountain City, Tennessee.
Chapter 3. Tennessee. Tennessee ain't no place I'd rather be.
I'm going back up to make my last stand. I'm gonna dust it off with my own hands. Black blizzard coming, old man keep running. You better get out while you can. We were broke, cold, let in, pushed out. Thought I heard it so, to up and leave this town. Head out west, they say, maybe California, and leave this dead land behind. So long, Oklahoma, I think they said farewell to me. Sleep beneath the stars in California, dreaming of that old used to be.
Mountain City, Tennessee is a small rural enclave outside of Boone, which hosts Appalachian State University. The Appalachian Trail cuts right through nearby Watauga Lake.
Mountain City, despite its name, is not a city. In fact, in 2004, the entire population was only 2,200 people. At that time, the town was simply made up of 3 grocery stores and a Dollar General. And that was it. No mall, no outlet stores, not even a movie theater. Quite the change from the Philadelphia suburbs.
The Potters buy a nice little brick ranch-style house on Hospital Road. Buddy gets a pickup truck to fit into the rural community, plastering it with marine stickers. But try as they might to appear as locals, they're definitely still Yankee city folk.
The family would all go to the local pharmacy together to pick up Jenelle's medications, and they got to know the young lady behind the counter, whose name was Tracy Greenwall.
Tracy was a sweet, friendly, and outgoing young woman, and showing some southern hospitality, knowing Jenelle was new to town, asked if she'd like to go hiking with her and some friends.
As Tracy would later say,
I felt sorry for Jenelle because she was sheltered and sick and stuff.
Jenelle accepted the invitation, and and her parents reluctantly allowed her to go out on her own. She is in her 30s at this point, after all.
So on a crisp Saturday morning, Tracy picked Jenelle up and they headed out to Watauga Lake for a day trip to hike the beautiful Appalachian Trail. The chicory and blue violets all in bloom.
There, Tracy introduced Jenelle to her friends, Lindsay Thomas and Tara Osborne. And Jenelle, of course, asked them to be friends on Facebook. She asked everyone to be her friend on Facebook, even complete strangers.
Tracy also introduced Jenelle to her brother, Billy Ray Payne, and Jenelle became instantly infatuated. Some even say obsessed.
Billy Ray Payne was a divorced dad, but his wife and young son were out of state, living in Florida.
Billy Ray lived with his father, Paul Bill, and worked at the Parkdale Mills, a factory that manufactured thread that employed many of the townsfolk.
Billy Ray was described as a wild card and playboy who had, quote, caviar tastes on a poor man's salary. Living with his dad in his childhood home, he didn't have to pay any rent and spent his paychecks living the high life. He drove a Mustang and vacationed in Las Vegas and was often going to NASCAR races in nearby Bristol.
Billy Ray worked hard and played hard, and wasn't averse to snorting a line of speed and popping some pills, even selling a few pills on the side to help fund his vacations.
Player Billy Ray flirted and toyed with Jenelle. She'd call him on the phone and they'd talk. Billy Ray tried to take her out on dates, to see her, but her parents wouldn't let her out of the house. Were so overprotective, they wouldn't even allow her to receive phone calls. She'd have to covertly call him. So she did not fit into his player lifestyle at all. In fact, he took to calling her the shut-in.
Billy Ray was very good friends with his cousin Jamie Curd, who also worked at the thread factory. They were like brothers, often partying together on the weekends.
Jamie was an odd duck. Very awkward socially, the opposite of his cousin Billy Ray. He dropped out of high school to care for his ailing mother, who eventually died, leaving him her little house. He always wore thick, shaded sunglasses that hid his misaligned eyes. He'd work 12-hour shifts at the thread factory and then spend all of his free time on the computer, developing a reputation around town for having savvy computer skills. He was 38 years old and had never had a girlfriend.
One sad weekend after Jamie's dog had died, Jamie and his cousin Billy Ray were drinking their troubles away when Jenelle happened to call.
Billy Ray told her about how his cousin's dog had died, and they were mourning the loss, and she began asking what his cousin was like. So, Billy Ray just handed the phone over to Jamie, and he and Jenelle began talking.
After that, Jenelle began to regularly call Jamie.
In that weird way Jenelle had, always overstepping boundaries, one day she just blurted out that she loved him. And with that, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, Jenelle and Jamie. But they never went out on dates, never went out at all. Her parents wouldn't allow it. Even though she was a woman in her 30s, they weren't even allowed to talk on the phone.
As for Billy Ray, well, he actually thought he was quite the matchmaker, hooking up these two weird, socially inept folks, and felt good for finding his cousin a girlfriend.
Frustrated that Jenelle could only talk in short bursts on the house phone when her parents were out, Jamie buys her a cell phone so that they can text each other. But a few weeks later, he gets a text from Barbie asking just who was he. Jenelle had been caught with the cell phone, and it had been confiscated. But Jamie covertly bought her a new one, telling her to be more careful. And the two would talk to each other for hours late into the night.
Jamie did his best to ingratiate himself with the Potter family. The Potters' Dell computer was old and would freeze up, so Jamie would come over and tinker with it, get it running by using antivirus software and reformatting the hard drive. He becomes a friend to the family and spends Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2011 with the Potters.
But it's awkward to say the least. Buddy Potter is very imposing and stern. He carries a pistol and a combat knife on his belt and grimly tells Buddy how he'd been a CIA operative for Operation Briar Patch in Vietnam, a covert operation that went into Cambodia and Laos on search and destroy missions. Missions so secret they had been scrubbed from the history books, causing him to have to relinquish the medals he'd earned there.
Just to be clear, again, the CIA says they've never heard of him, and it appears he was on a boat in the ocean during most of the war. Who knows, though? Maybe it's all true?
Oddly, it was Jamie who kept the relationship chaste and pure. Jenelle would often ask him to help her sneak out of the house so they could hook up, even going so far as to say she wanted to run away and elope. At one point, even fleeing the house unbeknownst to Jamie and being found wandering down the road in a daze.
But Jamie, who didn't want to anger her parents, especially her incredibly strict Marine father, who wore a pistol and combat knife on him at all times, refused to help her sneak away from the house, even when she started sending him pornographic photographs of herself on the phone.
And then a seismic event unfolded. Old player Billy Ray fooled around, fell in love. He'd been seeing lots of girls, but one day, a new employee showed up at the thread factory named Billie Jean Hayworth, and she took his breath away.
Billie Jean was gorgeous, a skinny brunette with sparkling eyes and a captivating smile, and immediately Billy Ray sensed she was the one for him. The two started dating, and Billy Ray stopped seeing his side girls and dedicated himself to her.
The relationship moved quickly. Soon Billie Jean was pregnant and moving in with Billy Ray and Paul Bill, a happy little family. And truth be told, Billie Jean and Billy Ray made a very good-looking couple. Everyone said so, and they were very happy together.
When Jenelle realized that Billy Ray had given up his player lifestyle to devote himself to one woman, she was incensed. She felt Billie Jean wasn't good enough for him, that no one was good enough for him but her.
Chapter 4: Cyberbully.
It started weird. Jenelle would take pictures from Facebook of Billie Jean, Lindsay, Tara, and Tracy and tag herself in them, which at first was just strange, but then became annoying.
When they called her out on it, asked her why she kept tagging herself in their pictures, Jenelle denied it, said it wasn't her, that someone had hacked into her computer. Then she became incredibly passive-aggressive online. Then, straight up rude. It's just like when she was a child. When caught in a lie, instead of admitting it, she throws a tantrum.
Jenelle starts making Facebook posts about them all, childish stuff, saying they were just a bunch of mean girls, which pissed them off and they retaliate, especially Billie Jean, who doesn't even know this weird Pennsylvania girl who'd just moved to her town. Who the fuck was she?
A full-on Facebook war erupts. Jenelle calling them all sluts and saying they had AIDS, and her mom Barbie is jumping in to defend her daughter.
Jenelle goes to Jamie, who, remember, is cousins with Billy Ray and Tina, and tells him that they are bullying her online, and he sides with her. He's 38, never had a girlfriend in his life, and when faced with a choice, he chose Jenelle over his own family. Which is particularly sad because he and Billy Ray had been more like brothers than cousins.
Jenelle gets massively unfriended. First Billy Ray and Billie Jean, then all their friends and all their relatives, and it's a really small town. And soon Jenelle had no local friends on Facebook.
This was apparently devastating to her. Facebook was her world, and it was slowly disappearing.
Buddy then took Jenelle to the sheriff to complain that the county's 911 director, Eugene Campbell, had unfriended her on Facebook. Yes, they went to the sheriff to complain about being unfriended. Insane.
While they were there, Buddy told the sheriff that he'd worked as a CIA operative in the Vietnam War and had killed people.
Why would you bring that up? Why would you say that? It's so weird.
The sheriff told them he had nothing to do with 911 and had no control over who the county officials friended or unfriended on Facebook.
With her Facebook world in crumbles, Jenelle then turned to Topics, a neighborhood internet forum infamous for neighbors talking shit about each other.
On Topics, Jenelle had all kinds of mysterious friends and backers that defended her there, like Matt Potter, who said about Billie Jean, Lindsay, and Tara,
All three of these as girls are no good whores, sell drugs and drink, and if you ever hit Jenelle, Lindsay, your ass better watch out. She has a great name, and you are all so unhappy with your dumb little lives, and you guys sleep around. Why don't you go back to fucking hell where you came from? Jenelle has a lot of friends that will back her and know what's really on. All you fucking sluts know what to do is to hate on someone else.
Then a person named Kelly wrote, Right, Matt? They're whores and no good people that have nothing else to do. They're nasty sluts, and Lindsay has HIV is what I heard. What guy would want that bitch? She is so ugly, and she is mad because Jenelle is so pretty and sweet and nice. It's so sad, Matt. I agree with you, and I will always back Jenelle.
Then a guy named Dan White chimed in, saying, Wow, Matt and Kelly. I knew Lindsay was bad, but I had no clue she was off on the deep end. She is crazy, that's for sure. This girl, Jenelle, I only know her in passing, but she is a good girl and was brought up right. You can tell. She's just a sweet girl. I will be praying for Jenelle. As for the others, they're no good horse sluts.
Then the phone calls started.
All of them were getting phone calls. Tara, Tina, Lindsay, Billie Jean. As Lindsay would later say,
It started off being just a couple of times a day, maybe, or just randomly a few times a week, to anywhere from 15 to 20 times a day, every day.
all the phone calls were coming from the Potter landline phone. The name and number showing up clear as day. No one ever saying anything, though. Sometimes they could just hear Jenelle breathing.
They'd confront Jenelle over them, say, Stop calling me. But Jenelle would deny it all, saying someone must have hacked into her parents' phone line.
Tara finally had enough. It was all really starting to get to her. So she filed a lawsuit for an order of protection against Jenelle. But it got thrown out. Then on May 10th, Lindsay filed harassment charges against Jenelle. And this case actually went to court. But ultimately, the judge stated he could not find her guilty without a reasonable doubt. And the case was dismissed.
Jenelle then starts saying they were a drug-dealing gang, and these suits were an elaborate plot to get her in jail where they can have one of their gang members take her out, and says she's getting death threats from them.
And now the Potters are calling the police and saying they're the target of vandalism.
They claim a large rock with the names Billie Jean and Billy Ray written on it was thrown at their house, and call the police, who photographed said rock.
Funny how the rock didn't cause any damage. Wasn't thrown through a window. It was just laying there in the yard. Why would you write your own name on a rock you intended to use in a crime?
Buddy claims he can see folks creeping around his house at night, and says they're planning on putting sugar in his gas tank, though it never happens. He says late at night he can hear them beating on the garage door, and he runs out, but they're gone.
Chapter 5. Too Pretty to Live.
I'm hushing the dog on the chain. I'm the bank, rally the troops for another refrain. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly to myself. I'm buried beneath the sand. There's no way to speak or reach out my hand. Watching the paper slowly unfold, bracing for news that I can't bear to hold, while I'm singing this song to myself.
In January 2011, Jenelle receives an email reading,
Jenelle, your life is in danger. You can call me Chris. All you need to know is that I'm with the CIA and in a position to know. You must take this seriously. You are not safe. You have crossed the wrong people. Bill is in a gang, a big gang, and he's put a hit out on you.
Then Barbie also receives an email from this Chris with the CIA saying he was stationed in the area to survey Billy Ray because of his gang activity and drug dealing, and has uncovered a plot to kill Jenelle. The entire family is in danger.
And why has this vicious drug gang put out a hit on this innocent girl? Because she was too pretty to live. Yes, Jenelle Potter was deemed too pretty to live by this ruthless gang of drug dealers.
Barbie writes back to Chris, saying, "Hi, Chris. Wow, I never knew how much I am in danger at all. Thank you so much for all of the information, hun. I am going to tell Buddy about it, and he will take action as needed and wait to hear from you."
Chris and Barbie begin emailing each other back and forth. Chris saying to her, "I guess you were wondering what my job is for the CIA. I just kill, and I enjoy that a lot. I get to shoot all the bad guys, and I work with some Marines overseas and do things with them. There's a lot I'm in, but they seem to want me all the time. I don't know if it's because I'm skinny and long, or because I can do things faster than most. And you might want to make sure Buddy is with you or around. He will get a call if anything we hear that they say they will kill you, and he will not be in the dark."
And a very weird thing, at some point Chris, the mysterious CIA assassin, begins to call Barbie Mom, ending his emails with, "I love you, Mom."
And Barbie is nonplussed over all this and says, "I love you, son, and am praying for you. I am glad, and we are Christians. Something no one can take away from us. Bye for now. Love you, Mom."
In a crazy subplot, Chris and Barbie briefly talk about assassinating Christy. Chris telling Barbie her estranged daughter is now a crystal meth dealer and prostitute, all of which is very untrue. They even discuss killing Barbie's own mother.
Then, on July 11th, 2011, Billie Jean and Billy Ray's son Tyler is born. And while all their friends and family are ecstatic over the birth, Jenelle is seething, thinking it should be her who had Billy Ray's child, not that tramp Billie Jean. And she writes on Facebook that she hopes both Billie Jean and her stupid baby die.
Chris then emails Barbie saying,
"I'm gonna run into whore pants slut face ugly as mud face bitch and her fucker of a boyfriend. I'm getting on where they are going and what they do and got a lot of sense about what they do daily. So I have been on them. They are playing games. I will get them, Mom. I just need to kill and shoot her 4 times in the fucking head and a few other times and then she will be gone. Jenelle don't need the upset. It's so sad."
Now Barbie emails Chris, telling him how Buddy had once been a part of the CIA. And Chris says he knows and is actively trying to get him reinstated, get him a CIA identification card, so that he can help with covert missions.
And when Barbie tells Buddy there's a CIA agent named Chris that secretly befriended the family and dedicated himself to protecting Jenelle, Buddy is pumped. Hell yeah. He tells Barbie to tell Chris he's willing to help in any way possible. So Barbie writes to Chris, saying,
Meet with Buddy. He will straighten your mind out about what his CIA and recon black ops, very experienced in all things you are doing. He is willing and ready to help you, work with you, and go at it with you. And he wants to back you. He is good at what he does, and he is tired of all the bullshit. People are nuts.
It's so crazy, dude. Then Chris reaches out to Jamie as well, bringing him into the fold, writing, Hi, Jamie, it's Chris. I wanted to say hello, and I thank you for being there for Jenelle and her mom and dad. They are good people, and what others say about them is wrong. I know you have taken up for her family and her. It means a lot to me. She is a wonderful, sweet, caring girl. And these girls are just driving her so crazy. There is no reason for it. Just because she is sweet and very pretty, prettier than them, they need to get over it. But something will happen to them in time. With you and Buddy, I hope you can all get them. I hope it works out great. You're going to help the town. I wish I could kill them, but right now I really can't. But anyways, I'm so happy that you and Jenelle are happy together. Well, take care, dude. And I love you. You are my brother. Take care and God bless. Chris.
I just can't even. Jamie writes back to Chris, saying, Jenelle is my ray of light at the end of the tunnel, something I thought I'd never see. Not from this shithole.
Chris writes back, She really loves you, man. She has never loved anyone like she loves you. I see it all over her. And you are very blessed, and you have a great girl. There's these motherfuckers that just want to make her life hell, and I hope she don't think about killing herself. She has you to live for, and her mom and dad.
Chris, the CIA assassin, writes to Barbie, saying,
They just can't stand it that Jenelle is so pretty and so truthful and just a great person. They want to hurt and kill Jenelle. I'm happy everyone that needs to is carrying and ready, because you just don't know.
Barbie writes back, Bud is so mad, and I'm 100% for whatever happens. You guys meet when you are ready. Maybe Bud will have his CIA ID by then and can use CIA guns to get the job done, you know? They all need to go, and the ones left need to be given a big scare as they watch and wonder, am I next?
Then Billy Ray and Billie Jean run into the whole Potter clan at the food line, and all hell breaks loose. Barbie starts yelling at them, and Billy Ray calls Barbie a stupid bitch, which really riles Buddy all up.
And Buddy is being told all about Chris and the CIA protection secondhand from Barbie, Jenelle, and now Jamie. Buddy himself doesn't even know how to turn a computer on and has no email address.
So Barbie emails Chris about the food line incident, saying,
I will do whatever I have to do to save my kid or myself, whether Bud is around or not. I carry 2 guns, lots of ammo, more than 75 rounds, and I'm ready.
And then Chris sends an email to Barbie saying, Kill, kill, kill. Don't worry about them. Buddy is CIA now. He's on the computer and the cops know. Buddy can kill them, so no worries there. Dumb bitch ho. She needs her butt kicked good and left and maybe run over and a bullet in her head. Then she would be a deadpan whore-faced bitch. LOL, karma. I'm happy Jenelle is happy.
Barbie wrote back, saying, "Thank you for what you are doing for us. I'm scared, but if you got the order to do it to them, we'll do it. Never thought I'd say that, and I've asked God to forgive me."
Chris says back, they are plotting something. I will say in a week, it's going to get worse.
Then Barbie emails Chris. "So you think that it will be in a week or so things will be happening? We are thinking different, sooner. It may be sooner than anyone thinks. Yes, we've had enough and we want peace, and no one here wants to kill anyone, but we will."
Barbie then Googles, can God forgive a murderer?
Chapter 6. The Murder.
Morning drifts in like a fog on the lake, as dreams shift in between asleep and awake inside of me, as the day sneaks in. A chorus of horns from the interstate intersect my sleeping subdued state. I eat my breakfast off a dirty plate.
On January 30th, 2012, Barbie called Jamie and asked him to come work on her computer, saying she had a bill that needed to be paid by midnight and the computer kept freezing.
So old sheepish Jamie in his dark glasses did as he was told, came schlepping over, and as he looked at the computer, Buddy came in and asked him if he would do him a favor and drive him to Billy Ray's house, drop him off, then circle around to pick him up down the road.
Jamie agreed. Anything to put him in the good graces of the father of the woman he loved.
Jamie then went home and began fiddling with his own computer when Jenelle texted around midnight, asking him to call her father.
Jamie called Buddy, who told him,
"You remember that favor I asked? Can you do it this morning?"
Jamie agreed, and Buddy said he would come by his place to pick him up in the early morning hours.
At 4:25 in the morning, Jenelle began texting Jamie, telling him to leave his cell phone at home, then texting that her father was getting ready to leave. At 4:39, Jenelle texted Jamie, saying,
"I love you. He took off. Love you. Text me ASAP when you get back."
At 4:45, Buddy arrived at Jamie's house in the family's Ford Explorer. Jamie got in, and the two then drove to a church and parked. Behind that church was a field, and behind that field was the house of Billy Ray and Paul Bill.
They sat and waited, watching the house, seeing the lights in the kitchen flicker on and off. Then Paul Bill get in his truck and leave for work, the headlights cutting through the lingering darkness.
Buddy then instructed Jamie to walk across the field with him to the house.
According to Jamie, he still had no idea what was going on or why they were there.
They crept through the field, the grass crisp with frost, the sky awash with purple and mauve as night faded and the stars disappeared. Then they slunk stealthily around the house, Buddy in military recognizance mode, ducking behind a shed, Jamie finally asking, in a whisper, "What are we doing here? If Billy Ray sees us, all hell's gonna break loose."
Silently, Buddy handed a pistol to Jamie, who said,
"I can't kill anybody."
"You don't have to," Buddy said. "Just stand at that door."
Buddy then slid open the sliding glass door and stepped inside, Jamie standing guard.
Buddy slipped silently down the hall and into Billy Ray's bedroom.
Billy Ray, shirtless, wearing just his boxers, sat up in bed when he saw him, yelling, "What the hell?" before Marvin Buddy Potter shot a round into Billy Ray's face, the bullet entering below his right eye, and then leapt at him, pulling his combat knife from its sheath and slitting his throat from ear to ear for good measure.
As Jamie stood sentry at the sliding glass door, Billie Jean came darting out of the kitchen with her infant child grasped in her arms. But seeing the sliding glass door blocked by Jamie, she ran down the hall and ducked into a back bedroom to hide.
Buddy then stepped out, and Jamie locked eyes with him and pointed down the hall, directing Buddy to where Billie Jean had run to hide with her baby.
Marvin Buddy Potter then strutted to the room and slung open the door, Billie Jean screaming, "No, no, no," as he lifted his pistol, squeezing the trigger at point-blank range. Billie Jean turning from him, the bullet going into her right temple, through her brain and exiting the other side, where it embedded itself in the baby's changing table.
Billie Jean Hayworth died instantly and crumbled to the floor, her infant child still cradled in her arms and splashed in its mother's blood.
Jamie and Buddy then fled the home, sprinting across the field to Buddy's Ford Explorer parked in the church parking lot. And as dawn broke across the morning sky, they drove back to Jamie's house.
Jamie handed Buddy back his pistol and told him to drop him off at the end of the driveway, then exited the vehicle, fell to his knees, and began to vomit to the damp, frost-covered earth.
That evening, Jenelle texted Jamie.
Baby, are you okay? Dad said come over and talk, okay? He said you were sick, so I left you alone. I love you so much, baby.
Chapter 7. Tribulations, Realizations, and Trials.
My body, it scares me. I don't know what to do. Guess that I could go out to see a show, but other people scare me too. This isn't anything new. Should I stay up until the middle of the morning? Or should I let myself rest? I'm sure I'd find a way to while away all of that time. What's the point either way? If I'm lonely, then I'm the only one not sleeping through the weekend. If I'm lonely, then I'm the only one not sleeping through the weekend. Tomorrow is just hours away, and it don't mean much if I'm still awake when it gets here.
So if you haven't guessed it yet, there is no CIA agent named Chris And Janelle's internet friends and defenders, Matt Porter, Kelly, and Dan White, they aren't real either. They were all the creation of Jenelle Potter. She'd catfished everyone she knew. Her mother, her father, her boyfriend, catfished them right into committing a double homicide they thought was sanctioned by the CIA.
All by a woman who was supposedly mentally disabled, who was receiving money from the government for being too mentally disabled to be able to work, who'd only ever taken special education classes when in school.
But before we call Jenelle a diabolical genius, we have to address the issue of how Buddy, Jamie, and Barbie are utter morons. I mean, how stupid can you be? They had to want to believe this. In particular, because Jenelle was a horrible speller and terrible with grammar and spelled the same words wrong and used the same grammatical mistakes in each and every one of her many, many personas.
Jamie would later say he didn't think Chris could be Jenelle because Chris loved to curse and use foul language, and Jenelle never dared to utter a profanity.
So ladylike and wholesome. But ultimately, in his own words, Jamie says he felt ashamed, humiliated, and stupid.
But he was arrested and brought to trial. He was stoic, keeping his mouth shut, trying to appear as his daughter's protector, and was found guilty of first-degree murder and received 2 consecutive life sentences, ensuring he will never see freedom again.
If I'm lonely and I'm the only one not sleeping through the weekend.
Jamie took a plea deal and told the prosecutors everything, receiving a lesser charge of facilitation to commit murder, and received a 25-year sentence, making him eligible for parole after 8 years.
For Jenelle and Barbie's trial, they had an electronic linguist go over all the emails, fake Facebook profiles, and chat groups, and show that they all had the same quirks, the same spelling mistakes and grammatical errors, which they were riddled with, pointing to the conclusion that they all came from the same person, that person being Jenelle.
Sad Jamie testified against his true love, Jenelle, a woman he once called his light at the end of the tunnel, all while wearing his dark glasses on the stand to hide his wandering eyes.
Judge John Carey Blackwood said the crime was the most bizarre thing he'd ever seen in his career as a judge, and gave both Barbie and Jenelle 2 life sentences to run concurrently.
A life sentence in Tennessee requires an inmate serve 51 years before being eligible for parole. So Jenelle Potter will be 86 years old when she's eligible for release.
And in yet another twist to a story full of twists and turns, in 2021, Barbie was granted a new trial after a review found there was a conflict of interest since both her and Buddy had the same attorney.
But rather than go to trial, Barbie pled guilty and was given a 20-year sentence, meaning with the time she's already served, she should be up for parole any time now.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Jenelle Potter and the Facebook murders, or as they're sometimes referred to, the catfishing murders of East Tennessee. We hope you've enjoyed it and were entertained at the very least.
It's entertaining. I mean, it's tragic that these people died and the baby's got no parents, but
I know.
holy shit, dude, those emails are insane.
So, what was Barbie's sentence in particular? What was she charged with?
if you help facilitate a murder, you can be convicted of that murder. Like, so she was convicted of first-degree murder, 2 counts.
Wow.
So she
Just for like you said, facilitating. That's a good word for it. And then
She's
Jenelle obviously like caused it and spurred the whole thing. So I get that. Yeah. Wow. I guess like of all, no, I mean Barbie's. I mean they're all guilty, but it's weird because they all got kind of similar sentences, and I do feel like there's varying degrees of culpability in a way. Like I'm trying to think like if Barbie had been removed from the situation. Well, Barbie was the one reading the emails to Buddy.
Right.
Yeah, so they're all like, it's like this, what a tangled web they weave. Well,
So
wild.
bizarre. Do you have a crazy case you'd like us to cover? Let us know at murdercoasterpodcast@gmail.com. That's murdercoasterpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will have another crazy tale of murder and mayhem next week.
See you then.